What goes into putting a music issue together? You've got to talk to musical artists. How do you decide who you're going to put in there? You've got no names and big names, and I mean, how does all of that kind of get decided?
Well, those decisions are made by our editor, Mark Smirnoff. He's the one who founded the magazine, and he conceived of this idea, the music issue, which involves also a CD of music. In the case of this year's issue, we actually did a double CD. One of the CDs focuses on Southern music. The other CD focuses just on Arkansas music. But Mark had the brilliant concept back in the late 90s of doing that when no other magazine had ever put a CD in with a magazine. Now other magazines have copied that, and in a sense, the Oxford American was multimedia before, what we think of as
before
multimedia.
Multimedia was cool, right?
Right. And, the reason why he did it was he thought, he wanted to do a music issue. We started writing about music, but then he realized, how can you write about music without the people reading the articles knowing what the music sounded like? So he had always made mixtapes for his friends, and he thought he would just make a mixtape for the readers of the Oxford American, and that's what the CD became. But, he has a very eclectic taste in music. He roots around in old record stores and everything around the South to find hidden gems that nobody's ever heard of. And so not only average people like you or I who just love music but don't know a lot about it, enjoy this, but also the real hardcore music geeks around the country who are looking to discover new music. They rely on the Oxford American every year to introduce them to artists and genres and other kind of things that they'd never seen before. And so, to put a CD together, though, with a magazine, it's after Mark has chosen the music, we have to do what is known as finding gratis rights, free rights to the music to put on the CD, because we could never afford to buy all of it ourselves. And one of the rules about gratis rights is that if one song on the CD was, obtained through gratis rights, then all of them have to be. So in a sense, we're depending on the charity of these record companies, but we also have to contact the songwriters as well as the musicians, because everybody sort of has a piece of the rights of each piece of music. And so,
do you meet some resistance from some?
All the time. I mean, I think Mark has a wish list when we go into this project, and we probably don't get 20% of the songs that he wants to get. I mean, we depend on the generosity of these musicians and their record companies. But, we also try to make the case that this is good for them. We give them a bigger platform. A lot of these songs are just sitting in vaults of these record companies not being purchased and not being heard. And so we're almost giving it a new life by putting it out there. But some people don't see it that way. Some people are only interested if you come with a briefcase full of cash, which we don't have. So it's very complicated to go through this, but we're diligent about it. We bluster through, and we end up getting a wonderful mix of music every year.
Yeah. What was your biggest surprise in this latest issue? What was maybe your favorite gem?
Well, it's interesting. The first thing that comes to mind on the Arkansas CD is a piece by Grant Still from 1947. It's actually a piece of classical music, which you don't always find on an Oxford American CD. But it's really extraordinary, very, very good, entertaining, fun, uplifting, well composed. You're very proud that it came from our state. And then it leads right into a rap song from a couple of years ago by a band called Sugar City. And it's interesting to me because the still piece is piano and violin. The rap piece actually utilizes violins, and so that transition from classical to rap happens pretty seamlessly. You almost hear the same violin strain in this strange way. I mean, not intended, of course, but and that's sort of Mark's genius in finding these pieces of music.
Yeah. What do you think Arkansas's musical reputation is?
Well, I don't think it's much to the outside world. And even within Arkansas, I think there are a lot of people who don't appreciate, again, the depth and the breadth of what we have here in terms of musical heritage. States like Louisiana, obviously are very well known because of jazz and because of Zydeco and other forms of music that were born there. Mississippi promotes the heck out of the blues, and the fact that it comes from the Delta over there. Tennessee has Nashville. Country music, and Memphis in the blues. And so all of these states do a great job not only of touting their heritage, but using them as ways to promote tourism. Now, Arkansas can certainly claim a lot of the same things. I mean, we have the same delta where the blues came from, and you could argue that a lot of those juke joints where the blues originated were actually in Arkansas and not Mississippi. We have the Rockabilly Highway that we've just dedicated, where we know that the rockabilly music by guys like Billy Lee Riley was started up there by Newport. We have, the classical music. We have an incredible history in soul music and R&B. As you know, I mean, a lot of record labels actually sprouted up in the 70s in and around Little Rock. And so we have all of this, but we've never done a good job of touting it, organizing it, explaining it, and making it our own. And again, the next step, of course, is making ourselves into a destination where people can come experience this. I think the Oxford American Music issue will do that for, not only for Arkansas, but for the rest of the world. I mean, we get orders for this issue every year from Australia and England and France and Sweden and Norway, all over the place. And so it's going to open people's eyes, and I think that this was something we intended to do. We want to help Arkansas by bringing this issue out, and I think we're going to see quite a nice effect when the rest of the major media around the country starts writing about it. And there's always going to be that guy who will say, oh, did you know that Arkansas has this great musical heritage? And they'll claim that they just discovered this themselves, but it'll be because they read about it in the Oxford American.
Yeah, let's talk about how the publishing business is changing. We talked a little bit about your business model earlier, but I mean, you've got so much stuff happening online now. Videos becoming so much more interactive in terms of online, and people that are publishing magazines are doing things in different media platforms. And you got social media out there now too. How are you guys utilizing that as a business strategy?
Well, I mean, we're basically throwing a lot at the wall to some degree. I mean, a lot of what we do is strategic, but I'm never going to claim that I've sort of figured out the new media landscape, because it is evolving every day. But the fact is, our core product is our print magazine, and I really don't want to change that in spite of what everybody thinks, because first of all, we're a quarterly magazine, and we give people 3 months to deal with the material we put in there. And we have a lot of material. This magazine that we just issued, this music issue, is 192 pages. And we put a premium not only on the quality of the writing, which of course is the most important thing when you're a literary magazine, but also our art and our photography, also the design. I mean, we have a designer for each issue who really puts a lot of thought into that. Even the paper that we put it on. I mean, it's an experience to have it, whether you want to just display it on your coffee table or whether you want to take it with you on the airplane or to the beach or in your living room. That's an important experience for us, and that will never change. But to the degree that we can supplement that on the internet, because we are quarterly, we can put more new material up on a monthly basis, which is what we're doing with our new website, and then venture into these other forms of media that, in a sense, we were already doing, because we can do music now every month, because we certainly have a track record with that. We've initiated a new original video series, which no other magazine that I know of in the country is kind of doing what we're doing, which are these short 5-minute videos that are very well produced by Dave Anderson, actually, here in Little Rock. And they explore parts of the South, very in keeping with our editorial mission. And the feeling of these videos are the same feeling that you would get when you read the Oxford American. And like I said, I don't know of any other major magazine that is doing that. And so we're exploring that as well.
And this is called So Lost?
It's called So Lost, and meaning kind of getting lost in the South. And we've had pieces about bluegrass music in Mountain View, Arkansas, cheese making in Alabama. We're kind of all over the South, wherever Dave goes, and he finds these little stories. Even at this back road in Mississippi where there was an old general store that was closed down. And they're sort of like video essays, but they're very elegant and they're very well done. And you just don't see a lot of that on the internet. Most of the internet videos you see are very shaky and kind of, very casual. These are well produced, but they're, short, so they're digestible, and they're very much in keeping with what we do in the magazine. And so we're doing special interviews every month and doing editors' picks for new books and new music and things like that. So we're keeping ourselves relevant via the internet. And then, of course, we're promoting all of our content via Facebook, via Twitter, and other venues. And so, to the degree that we can do everything well, we're going to do everything as long as we possibly can until, somebody tells us, don't print a magazine anymore, I won't read it. And with that in mind, I'll mention one other thing. We launched a digital edition of our magazine recently where it's the same exact thing as our print edition, but you can look at it digitally. It's free for our subscribers, or you can just purchase a digital edition, and you can even read it on your iPhone. So that's a nice way for us to sort of take our core product and introduce it to readers who maybe want to get it in a different way.
If somebody doesn't have a subscription, if somebody wants to check it out, where do they go? How do they do it?
They go to oxfordamerican.org, O-R-G, and everything should be very simple and plain and easy. You can find our digital edition or subscribe to the print edition.